For me, it was the disappearance of little Oakley Carlson in Grace Harbor County after the state returned custody of her to drug-addicted parents, and she disappeared. That put a critical issue on my radar. Is the state failing our kids by keeping endangered children with their fentanyl-using or abusive parents instead of removing them from the home? New numbers show 45 children died or almost died from April to June this year. That followed an increase in the first quarter of 47 fatalities or near fatalities. That devastating report was presented by Patrick Dowd, the director of the Office of the Family and Children's Ombuds, to the Washington State Department of Youth and Families Oversight Board. So you sounded the alarm, and you had said that normally you would wait till the end of the year, but these numbers were troubling to you. You wanted the board to know about this. What do you hope the Oversight Board does with this information?
Well, the Oversight Board is set up to kind of receive information from the Department of Children, Youth, and Families to help ensure that various outcome measures are met, including child health, safety, and welfare. So I think it's an opportunity to look at what are the issues that are leading to these critical incidents. What are the challenges that as a community we're facing, circumstances such as the fentanyl crisis that is ongoing and that has an adverse impact, obviously, on children, and particularly young children. And then how do we respond as a community and also within our child welfare system to prevent these critical incidents and to better strengthen families.
So critics and some parents point to the Keeping Families Together Act as putting our most vulnerable kids at risk. In homes where parents are using drugs, you just mentioned fentanyl, it's a crisis in our state right now. Do you believe that legislation is placing children at greater risk than before?
So one thing that we see, so that the Keeping Families Together Act went into effect in 2023. And when we look back at the number of child fatalities or the near fatalities, we really saw a jump between like 2021 and then into 2023. So that increase of child fatalities related to abuse or neglect, we saw that increase before the Keeping Families Together Act went into effect. I think it is more of an indication of the impact of the fentanyl crisis. Now, those are, they're not necessarily completely separate concepts. On one hand, we have a fentanyl crisis that is endangering children, and then we also had state law that went into effect in 2023 that raised the legal standard for removing a child from a parent's care. I don't think it's as simple as saying the change in the law directly led to an increase in child fatalities or near fatalities.
I guess let me just ask, you've been doing this for a long time. Do you think the current system is failing at its most basic duty to keep the kids alive?
Well, there are certainly limitations to any child welfare system's authority to intervene with a family. And so there's always going to be the tension between protecting the privacy of the family and the privacy of the parents and preventing families from unwarranted intrusion by a state agency. And then on the other hand, making sure that the child welfare system has enough authority to, when a child is at an imminent risk of physical harm, is able to identify those cases and take action involving the court and removing the child from those situations. So we will never have a child welfare system that can prevent all child abuse and neglect. Our report also kind of identified the number of CPS intakes that are screened in for investigation. And then of those cases, the ones where the family receives services, and then of those situations where children are actually removed from the home. And what we don't have is we don't have an algorithm to go in and identify this is the child that if we don't remove is going to suffer a critical incident of abuse or neglect. And then on the other hand, you have situations where this is suboptimal. We have parents that are struggling with poverty situations, mental health issues, substance use disorder. But if there's not enough factual basis to remove the child, the department cannot legally intervene.
Well, it is heartbreaking every time we hear about one of these kids who dies, whether from abuse or from fentanyl. Patrick Dowd, thank you so much for explaining all of the reporting. We appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much.